Want to find out what drives a truly aspirational person? Someone who strives to improve himself and to give back? Hear how you can make your ambition a reality? You'll leave this interview motivated. Welcome to Northern Vibe. Thanks very much for tuning in. If we've never met, I'm Matthew Maloney, host and founder of Northern Vibe. Northern Vibe believes in elevating the obscure. We believe in exposing excellence. We believe in cultivating curiosity. We believe in acknowledging achievement and shining a light on uniqueness. And believe me, we have both achievement and uniqueness in this interview today. We engage in open conversations with those who have hidden talents, abilities, and accomplishments. We seek to understand interesting and informed people, to comprehend and appreciate motivation. So listen in, eavesdrop. Everybody wants to grow. Northern Vibe is growing, but we need you to help keep up momentum. So please like and share this interview. Please follow Northern Vibe if you haven't already done so. And we're getting some really interesting locations where people are listening from. I was going through the metrics, and it's a big hello to the Solomon Islands. Loving having you guys on there. And look, if anybody has any suggestions for the comments page, please put them on there. If you've got any questions you want to run through, if there's any comments you want to make, put them up there. This includes suggestions for guests. So if you're interested in coming on Northern Vibe, contact me through the Facebook page. I've had a couple of really interesting people get in contact with me through that Facebook page. So it's fantastic. Now we all want to dive in, but first, we always do a mention in dispatches. And this week's mention in dispatches goes out to Drew's nominated charity, which is called Kick On. So there it is. That's Drew down the bottom there as well. Here is my guest. So if you click on who we are, it goes right through the shop, the programs, and of course, about us. Contact has it up there, and Drew will be telling us during the interview what you can do to help this really worthy charity. So enough of the interview, enough of the introduction. Welcome, Drew.
Hey, mate. How you doing? Thanks for having me.
Good as gold, mate. Wouldn't be dead for quids. Thanks for coming on.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure. Love what you're doing here.
Yeah, well, back at you. I'm going to kind of dive right in, and of course, I'm going to have to say some stuff that you kind of probably find a little bit embarrassing because, like, no one likes to hear, like, oh, you've done this. You've got a bit of a stack of talent, and you've got a real skill set. You're a farm boy, you're a musician, you're a chef, a former FIFO worker, TV performer, clown doctor. That's kind of cool. Charity worker and model. And you're from Tara in out past Dalby in the Darling Downs. Look, I've been to the Bunya Mountains. I know a little bit about the country. I don't know it all that well, so I'll get you to tell us about where you're from. Like, tell us about that country out there.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, so I grew up in the tiny country town of Tara. I grew up on a sheep and cattle property out there. Granddad had it, and then mum and dad have got it as well now. So, mate, yeah, very, very small town. Your typical small town stuff. So I actually did my my whole schooling out there and got an apprenticeship with Ergon Energy out there before I kind of left. So I think I lived there till I was about 21. And yeah, just your typical farm stuff, man. I grew up, hunting and fishing and camping and riding motorbikes and playing any sport that I could. So,
mate, that's fantastic. And look, I genuinely think that just having that upbringing and getting that grounding is really important. Mate, are your mob, are the Brewers close?
We are. But yeah, it's an exciting mob, mate. So my mum and dad still live out there. My youngest brother has moved back there as well during COVID. Funnily enough, during COVID, during isolation, all three of the boys out of the family, we all moved back to Tara and stayed out there for 3 or 4 months, and it was awesome. My middle brother's up in Cairns now, and my youngest brother's moving up in August, and mum and dad have just bought an investment property up here. But this is where their one and only grandson is at the moment. So I think they'll probably be moving up shortly, man. Yeah.
Oh, mate. And, you've got to love that. It's important. It's important to have your mob around you, really, isn't it? Like, especially if they're backing you up, which I think it's kind of cool.
Mate, yeah. Well, mum and dad own a pub out in Tara. So Christmases get pretty wild. There's lots of drinking games, always dress up. And yeah, it's a very fun family to be in. Let's just say that.
So yeah, you're the sort of male version of his parents own a. So it's not quite like her dad owns a brewery, but it's like, yeah, his family owns a pub. So that's got to be a good draw card.
Rodney Rood or Kevin Bloody Wilson, yeah.
So what brought you to Cairns?
Funnily enough, it wasn't actually Cairns. It was, like I got a job in Thursday Island, so I moved up to TI from Tara, and I lived up there for 4 years. And I tell you what, you couldn't get much more of a culture shock if you tried, man. Going from Tara to TI, but it was just beautiful. It was an amazing lifestyle, and I guess Cairns is kind of the natural progression from TI, where it's pretty transient up there. Like a lot of people are on 3, 6, or 12-month contracts, so you meet a lot of people, and a lot of people come to Cairns after they're in Thursday Island. So, and plus you've got to fly in and out of here, so a lot of your holidays end up being in Cairns as well. So I just fell in love with the place, man. It was, it's got that laid back lifestyle, and the people here are all beautiful, and it's just so much to do. Adventures everywhere. Love it.
I stopped all there, and big which way for Tony Barney, and he says that you're a good football player, so you must have played up there, mate. I love
back in the day, mate. It's been a while now, but yeah, we won 3 premierships with Suburbs up there, which was pretty awesome. And the first year I played, I was the only white guy in eight football sides, so pretty interesting, man. It was a good time. I really enjoyed it.
And mate, see, that's it. Like, really, it's a I just can't speak highly enough about TI, and I know there's going to be a lot of TI people tune in. Actually, I do have some great listeners from TI. So thanks very much, big SO for everyone tune in there from the Straits. But right,
one of the best times of my life up there. That 4 years, met some amazing people, and still have a lot of friends from TI. So yeah, big shout out.
So when did you go up there, and when did you get back? 4 years. That's longer than me.
4 years. I think it worked out to be between 3.5 and 4. And yeah, I think I've been in Cairns for about 7 or 8 years now. So I'll let you do the math.
All right. There we go. Well, I was there 98, 99, and a little bit of 2000.
Yeah, nice.
No, correction. 97. No, yeah, that's right. I left just before New Year's Eve 2000. So yeah, again, same kind of thing. I got up there in 97, I think it was. So look,
I was in grade 7.
Sorry?
I think I was in grade 6 or 7 then.
Yeah, I suppose I am getting old. But, for me, there were a few reasons I was really keen to chat to you, and like David Hudson, who was my first first magazine style interview. You're a Queensland country boy come good. You're not a big city superstar. You're really one of us, a regional Queenslander. And one of the things I like is that you actually have hit a couple of hurdles too, and you keep coming back. To quote the song, you get knocked down, but you get back up again. Mate, are you willing to tell us about hitting these hurdles and coming back and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, mate, I hit hurdles every single day. It's it's part of life. I did a thing the other day, and like people see the results and they see the successes, because that's generally what you show people and what you put up on your social medias and all this kind of stuff. But every single day I get emails that are knockbacks, and I get stuff that doesn't work, and gigs cancelled, and all kinds of shit. Like it's just nonstop. But yeah, I've definitely been through a couple of decent adversities. The one that kind of was a bit of a catalyst for everything that I'm doing now was probably my wedding being called off. So I got about 8 weeks out from a wedding. Everything was obviously planned. We're getting hitched in Bali. Everything was sorted, and my partner had a bit of a change of heart last minute, which was pretty hard to take at the time. It was, I thought my life was ending, and everything I'd planned in the future was revolved around this one thing, So, and up until that point in my life, I was very, very lucky and hadn't really been through anything really hard. Like I still had 4 grandparents. I'd had this amazing upbringing, like out on a farm. I was super close to all my family. Hadn't really lost any friends or anything at this stage. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I did all of the wrong things. I didn't know how to deal with something like that because I'd never been through it. So, you know, I isolated myself. I didn't talk to anybody. I stopped working out. I started drinking and partying, and just I hit rock bottom really, really quickly, as you do when you do all of those things. And I guess that, you know, that was the thing that really inspired me to quit working FIFO and you know, actually start doing some stuff that inspired me and made me feel good as a human again. So yeah, that was one of them. That's probably the main one.
Well, look, it's understandable too. Like, I'm a great Jordan Peterson fan, and he, you know, he talks about, yeah, JP, man, he is the man, and a great Jonathan Peugeot fan too. Actually, he's kind of like known as Jordan Peterson's trusty sidekick. But it's, you're watching the dynamic there. I'm actually starting to wonder who's, anyway. Jonathan Peugeot, great guy. Also, he's one who's worth watching on YouTube for anyone that likes podcasts.
Check him out.
Yeah, Pageau. It's a French Quebec wine name. But look, he talks about, of course, JP talks about that we have a narrative of ourselves and who we are and where we're going. We're kind of like we're writing our own future in our head. And when we get something like that happens, like, you reasonably ask yourself, it's like, well, I thought I knew this person. Well, turns out I kind of don't. And what do I know about me? And what do I know about my future? And it's like, that really is, well, that's kind of catastrophic. It's like a descent into hell is the analogy that he uses. And it's a tough thing to come back from. So
it certainly feels like it at the time, in the moment. You can't think much outside of your own, you know, your own kind of suffering. And it's always, oh, this is happening to me. And I went through the whole victim mode, and I was like, you know, how could this happen to me? And I haven't done anything wrong. What do I do to deserve this, you know? Yeah. And looking back, man, it's the biggest blessing of my whole life. Like, I'm so grateful that I got to go through that. And one of the reasons, not only because, you know, it was basically the start of the journey to where I am now, but you know, it, like the cliche things, it taught me a lot about myself. But the main thing was it just, for the first time in my life since I can remember, since I was, you know, even before high school, I'd always been so driven and so, you know, so focused on my future and you know, like saving and doing this and set myself up and all this stuff. For the first time in my life, it actually gave me a bit of time just to sit with myself and just say, you know, what actually makes me happy and what do I want out of life and what do I want to achieve? And, you know, am I happy with what I'm doing? You know, working FIFO, being away 2/3 of the year, you know, what really matters to me? What are my values and all that kind of stuff? And yeah, it was a beautiful thing, man. It hurt like fuck at that time, but you know, there's no growth without pain. So
that's it too. And it's funny how a descent into hell is sometimes necessary before you can kind of go up. And, you know, JP talks about remaking yourself and all that, but it really is. And incidentally, for anyone out there, you know, who is going through any tough times, especially for relationship breakups or anything like that, clearly both Drew and I do recommend Jordan Peterson. But seriously, if you're going through some issues, he really helps put things into perspective. But
yeah, and just talk about what's going on is the biggest thing. I held it all in. I didn't tell anybody. Like, I was ashamed and I was, you know, embarrassed about the situation and thought it was a reflection on me, you know. Best thing I ever did was just start telling people what was going on. Yeah. And JP, yeah, great book, 12 Rules for Life.
Mate, he is. He's a dead set legend. But what motivates you now and what's your ambition? Like, have you written a potential future for yourself, to use JP parlance?
Yeah, I think now is I'm in a bit of a weird situation at the moment where I am reflecting on things, and you know, it's always changing for me. Like, it's got to be new. I'm still very passionate about Kick On. We've got a lot of new things happening with them, with the school programs, and I'm very, very happy with where that's headed. All Good Nutrition is another one that's happened in the last 12 months, which links up with Kick On. So we're a mental health based supplement company. We donate 50% profits to, there we are there. to charity as well. And, you know, we're all about our give back, but all of these products are great for your own mental health. So, you know, very, very happy to be involved with them. The music is going great. And I've just started dipping my toe into the acting scene as well, where that's very, very fresh. But I don't know, mate, like, and jiu-jitsu, like I've been doing jiu-jitsu comps for the last 12 months and I'm really enjoying that. So I'm getting to the stage where I'm like, I just love doing so many things. And I'm thinking maybe if I lost a few of these things and just focused on, you know, 2 or 3, would I be a lot better at them? Or, you know, I do like varieties of, you know, varieties is the spice of life. So,
and I know exactly. Look, I'm not at your level of achievement, but I do know exactly how you feel, because it's such a cliche, but it's true. Like, as I like to quote that great philosopher and psychologist Eminem, when he says that you can do, when he says that you can really do anything that you put your mind to, and he's right. Like, it's
100%.
You know, so you can be a weird geek and start up a podcast through Zoom with your 10-year-old computer, no equipment, and end up talking to guys like you and ended up getting the kind of metrics that we're getting, which is, again, amazing. Thank you very much. Like and share. It's because of you guys out there. You know, you can write, you can get published, you can get on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can do all this. And something else I empathize with you on is I kind of do feel like the lion that's run into this pack of gazelles. It's like I've been sitting there, I've been stalking along. There's a couple of life dynamics that have kind of changed for me. I'm changing jobs. So, and I was in the police, still am technically. Get out in July. I've made the decision. I'm not going back. And it's, well, the job was great to me. Like, it's not like this, you know, I'm not like the kind of Rambo, I gave them the best years of my life, they ruined me. It's like, no, like, it was a good job. I got paid to go to Torres Straits, meet Tony Barney, Bala Cyril, and everyone else out there. I've also, you know, I was stationed in Winton, Rockhampton, Cohen, Lockhart River, and Arakoon, performed duties in Mount Isa and Cooktown. Like, you know, I got paid to go all over the state, you know, and again, it really was. It's somewhat of a cliche, but a lot of cop shows around journeys of 2 things: one, self-discovery, and the second thing is, you know, discovering human nature. And those 2 things were interlinked, and that's something the police gave to me. And you know, I'll always be happy for that. But the discipline was kind of like, because it's a disciplined environment, you know, and I kind of was wanting to explore other things, and it's like, no. And fair enough. Like, you know, fair enough. It's that sort of organization. If you don't want that, you've got to again, use JP parlance, you've got to make the sacrifice. But coming out of it, like, I'm looking at all these gazelles, and sometimes I don't know which one to chase. You know, I get. But look, what do you want to be? What do you want to be remembered for? Like, sort of all these things that you're doing. Is it like, you know, what do you want written on your tombstone? So it's like, here lies, you know, Drewboy Brauer. Everyone has something written on there. Like, is it what do you want written on there? Like, what? Oh,
never thought about that. Tell you what, yeah, I guess, you know, as far as a legacy or whatever that I want to leave behind it's just the cliche shit, man. I just literally just want to make the world a bit better than, you know, just because I was in it, you know, like, for people, I don't even know what happens when we die or whatever, but, you know, if Kick On is still around when I go, that would be amazing. If it carries on without me. Obviously, music is a beautiful thing, because once it's out there, you know, online, then it's always going to be there. So music is something else that can help people get through a lot of different things. And as far as that, man, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'd love to maybe leave some kids behind that are doing good things as well, and try and give them the tools and values that they need to navigate the crazy world that's ahead of them. But yeah, I don't know, man, just literally just that. Like, everywhere I go, I just try and make something a little bit better than when I got there. So yeah, just the simple things.
And you're right, it really is the simple things. And look, I'd heard of you before you were famous, just when you were starting to get a bit of a name going. And I called you out of the blue because it was another project that I was kind of involved in that ended up kind of semi-involving into this, actually. And you were great. One of the things that struck me when we spoke, again, before you were famous, was like you recognized that you had talent, but you weren't immodest about it. And as a result of chatting to you, actually, uh, I play quite a bit of your play quite a bit of your music on YouTube, and unfortunately, I can't get it on and play it now because there's all this copyright stuff. If you play music on YouTube through this, your show ends up getting blacklisted, and you can't share it. So
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way when I played some Matters Yahoo on here. But I do recommend, if anyone is out there, if you just jump on YouTube and you use the search engine for Drewboy and the Sax SAX addicts, you get quite a bit of good music. And my favorite song is "Feel Alright." I got to say that's the one I like. But mate, I want to do talk. I really do want to talk about music, and I often ask people if they have advice for developing musicians. And I've asked that of actual previous musician guests, and sometimes I've got blank stares. So what I'll do is I'll frame it this way. If you could go back and advise early music loving you, I'm talking like really young music loving you, what would you tell yourself?
Good question. I'd probably tell him to stop being lazy and learn some of the basics. I never learned, like I still don't know how to read music. I don't know what half the chords are called. I learned by ear, and I kind of I do what I think sounds good. But music has, music's always been about the journey for me. And like I never set out to be a singer. And like, even now, like I love what I do, and I definitely have big goals, but there's no pressure. Like I don't, if I never, get any bigger than what I am now, like I don't care. Like it's not really about that. It's just music has been amazing therapy for me, especially writing. So, just that as a coping strategy has probably saved my life. When I have been through these dark times, as we mentioned before, like the wedding being called off and stuff, having an outlet where I can write down my feelings and put them on paper and then add music to it and just get so much of my, feelings and this torment and stuff out into something physical that you can see and hear and listen to and share with people and help them through the same thing. It's just been one of the best things I've ever done. So yeah, for any artists that are out there listening, you just got to write, and it doesn't matter if people like it or not. Like, honestly, do it for yourself. And if somebody else likes it, if one person likes it, then that's a bonus. And that should be with anything that you do that's creative, whether it's a podcast or art or fucking interpretive dance or, paper mache, whatever. It doesn't matter. You do it for yourself. If other people like it, then, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah, and that is it. Like, I actually write under a pen name, and I've been published a couple of times now, and it's the coolest feeling picking up that bit of paper or that book or that magazine or whatever it is and going, dude, and having someone pay money for your thoughts, because writing is articulated thought. Words are articulated thought, and it really is. It's the logos. It's so cool. And Tony Barney talks about that you sing well with his nephew Danny. So you do a bit.
Yeah. Danny's unreal. He's one of the most talented musicians I've ever met. And I met him when I first got to TI. He was this guy who used to walk around with a guitar and just walk around the street, walk into the pubs, and he'd just be playing and singing the whole time. And he was just ridiculous. So I started playing gigs up there, and I was like, man, you got to come and do a gig. And he'd never done a gig before. And he came in and he was just uber talented, man. Like, just, amazing. He's 10 times better now. But yeah, he's in Cairns now as well, and we catch up quite often. And yeah, amazing human being, as all the Barneys are. It's a great family, that one.
Yeah, they are. They did. They took me under their wing a bit too. And I actually did see Danny playing on Facebook the other night. So maybe he's a potential guest. Tony, just saying. Yeah, look, how often do you practice now? Because, you got to sit down there and strum it out and get right. Like, how often are you getting on the axe?
You don't want to hear. None. No, I play probably 3 or 4 gigs a week. Now, thanks to COVID, we're back to normal now. But yeah, man, my playing is my practice basically. So I guess once you get to a comfortable level, it's a good and a bad thing, but you don't have to practice anymore to kind of maintain that, especially if you're just playing a few gigs. So you can slip into this comfortable zone where, you know, you don't have to push yourself if you don't want to. And I guess for me, it's like, there's no spare time at the moment, like between kick on and all good and trying to train jits and just, you know, there's not even time for a social life, to be honest. Like, I don't have days off. I had half a day off today, which was amazing. But that was the first one in quite a while. So I don't practice nearly as much as I should, but that's what I was saying before. It's like, you know, maybe I start to think, well, if, you know, my partner, my girlfriend, she plays music as well, and she's ridiculous, but she plays and sings all day, every day. And I was like, man, I wonder if I put that much time and energy into it, like, how much better would I be? And would I be happier? You know, it's one of those things. Happiness is the goal for everything. So yeah, it's just trying to figure out how to get there. So
Look, where do you get the inspiration from your songs?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, mate, all my songs are very personal. So funnily enough, when I'm happy and I'm in a good headspace and you know, everything's going really good, not the best for inspiration for songwriting. But when something bad has happened, or if I've lost somebody, if I'm having a hard time, if, you know, breakups are perfect. Some great material out of breakups. And so a lot of my songs are either like love songs or heartbreak songs. And then, you know, I really have to push myself to write happy songs. And I find them a lot harder to write, not because I'm not a happy person, but because when I am happy, I'm generally not sitting down with my guitar, you know, pouring my heart out onto paper. So yeah.
Okay, so look, I'm going to put you right on the spot. Which one of your songs do you like the most? And I know everyone hates that, but
I think maybe a song that's accessible to everybody that's watching this would be probably "Time to Say Goodbye."
Yeah.
And it was, yeah, that was like a really hard time in my life after the breakup, where basically I thought I was doing really good. And I was telling myself, yeah, you're fine. You're all sweet. This is like, you know, maybe a year after the breakup. And I really wasn't. And I got to this stage where I'm like, man, I need to say goodbye to this, you know, let go of this person and this dream. And yeah, that song is really raw and honest, and definitely from, you know, from my soul. And then we filmed up here with a young videographer called Liam. And he smashed the music video. I'm so happy. It's all filmed up in North Queensland, and yeah, I'm really proud of that song. So yeah, probably that one.
Good on you.
Cheers,
and,
man.
Mate, jumping to another kind of subject, but I suspect half related to not being 100% happy all the time. What was your FIFO job? And like, you know, what were you doing FIFO wise?
Yeah, so I started my apprenticeship with Ergon Energy when I was probably 20 years old in Tara. Actually, no, it wasn't. I was 18. Anyway, so I finished that apprenticeship, which was a high voltage electrician. And from there, I applied for jobs all over the place because I was kind of, you know, big fish, little pond kind of thing. I was like, you know, I'm ready to explore the world. And I think I had like 4 or 5 different job offers or interviews for jobs, and one of them was on Thursday Island, and I'm like, sweet, I think that's near Early Beach or Cairns or something. And it just so happened that I'd started my linesman training and I had to go to Cairns for it, and the boss in TI just said, look, man, we'll fly up to TI, you can check the place out, see if you like it, you know. And basically we got along like a house on fire. He liked me because I was from a small depot and off a farm, and basically on TI, it's the Wild West. So you kind of have to be innovative and be able to make stuff work when you don't always have the right equipment or the right tools, and just kind of get the job done. because it might be a $5,000 chopper ride to go back and get the thing that you forgot or didn't know you needed. And basically, yeah, he gave me the job straight away, and basically he took me straight to the pub. Took me straight to the pub. We got blind. We were supposed to check out the houses in the depot, and then we went to the depot and met all the other guys, had a few beers, had a massive night. He didn't even show me the house, and he dropped me off at the airport the next day, very hungover, and said, "You got the job." So,
And I understand that you've worked in some mining camps as well.
yeah. So, it's got a bit off topic there. So I was a high voltage electrician and a linesman, and then I started working on the gas fields from TI. So I had this thing in my head that I wanted to, I wanted to do FIFO and earn this big money, and it's got this big appeal, from the outside. And I ended up doing 2 years. Funnily enough, out near Tara, where I grew up. So it's all around the Dolby, Chinchilla, Miles, Roma area. And I did 2 years out there as a high voltage electrician. And then I went into switching, and then I went into high risk permit officer, which basically just meant I sat in an office and told other people what to do and watch YouTube all day.
Really? So are they recruiting? No, just kidding. Really?
Probably, yeah.
All that. But mate, do you have any hard times?
Very little work, lots of responsibility, but very little work. Yeah.
Wait, did you have any hard times out at the camps? I'd understand some of those places would be pretty tough.
Yeah, mate, to be honest, I loved my time out there. It was awesome. I worked with amazing people, and I actually did really enjoy my job, mainly because of the people I work with. But like I said, that was when my wedding got called off. So I was out there for about 2 years, and then my wedding got called off, and it just switched. It went from a really positive thing where I was socializing, I was going to the gym, I was in really good shape, I was very driven, goal orientated. So I think I bought 3 houses in 12 months and renovated all of them, and rented them out, and I was in a really good headspace. And then after the wedding got called off, I just went to shit, excuse my French, but yeah, did all the wrong things, stopped working out, and it just totally switched, and it turned into a jail. I just stay in my room and just do my own head in, get no sleep. And yeah, wasn't good.
Tell me about Kick On. What the charity itself and your involvement in it.
So yeah, I quit my job after struggling out there for a couple of months. I actually got offered a promotion over on Western Australia on Barrow Island for a lot of money. But it was 28 days on, 9 off. And I thought, I did the math, and it's, over 300 grand a year, but you're only home 10 times in the whole year, and, for about a week. So I did the math, and I was like, I don't think I'd survive at the moment the way I was. So I quit that and did the only rational thing, and decided to become a musician. And basically, I had all of this time on my hands because I had no gigs because I was shit. And I'd never really played gigs before. So I think I might have had 1 gig every couple of weeks. And I really had to fight for those. And basically, I'm just like, well, I'm going to do all of the things that I've always talked about. Like, I'd always wanted to volunteer for sick kids at the hospital and, play music for them. And ended up going into a clown doctor, like you mentioned before, a clown doctor role there, which was amazing. And basically, I just started volunteering at all these different places because I had the time, and I'd always said that I wanted to, and I just didn't. And then I really discovered a passion for mental health, suicide prevention, worked with the Hospital Foundation, worked with Dr. Edward Coe Foundation, started delivering school programs and suicide intervention training, and, all these cool things. And my mind is just going, oh, amazing. Like, I wish I had these tools when I needed it, because I got, I went to a very dark place, and, basically started asking myself questions whether I wanted to be around or not. So to come out and then to be able to help other people, and especially, still helping myself, like I'm still picking stuff up going, wow, this is great, But I've seen a massive gap in the system for a charity like Kick On that just wasn't around, especially in Cairns. There's something with a cool factor that kids can relate to. that general people, you know, like we're not just we're men's, women's, kids, you know, whatever, but just something with a fun, cool, positive kind of face. Because yeah, I did see a lot of these programs were kind of falling on deaf ears because they just weren't relating to kids. So yeah, fast forward a lot of years. I think Kick-On's been around for 4 or 5 years now, and a lot of hours. And now we've got this amazing team, which, you know, man, I couldn't be happier with the people that I've got involved with Kick-On, the people that reach out, and just all these people are absolutely amazing. They're all so much better at what they do than what I could ever do. And I'm just so lucky to have them. And yeah, it's really cool because it was kind of just me for a lot of years. My mate and I, Gus, we came up with the idea together, and then he kind of got, he was very busy with his work and family stuff. And yeah, my problem was I'd come up with 10 ideas at once and try and do them all at once. And then, you know, spinning all these plates and it'd take a long time to get anything to happen. And now we can make stuff happen quickly and a lot better than what I ever could. So yeah, I love it.
Well, that must be pretty satisfying. And you know what? Seriously, mate, good on you. That's no small achievement that you've got there. You should be very proud of the achievement that you've done. You've honestly contributed. You and everyone else there. I'm not demeaning what they've done. It's just that I happen to be interviewing you.
Yeah.
It's also pretty candid of you to kind of indicate there that you were obviously, you know, you were having suicidal thoughts. So if anybody has done that, you know, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how down you feel, your life is worth living, and you may turn a very big corner, like what. So
one in 5 people will have suicidal thoughts over their lifespan, and the best thing you can do is just tell somebody. Like, it's so normal. We all go through shit times. We all have breakups and lose people, and you know, it's just one of those things that really connects everybody together because we all get to experience it. Fucking sucks. But we all go through it, and it's, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So reach out.
Words of wisdom and from personal experience. Look, this might sound like an odd thing to say, but while I know the reality TV show that you're involved in, Married at First Sight, I've accepted watching little bits that you were involved in to study for this interview, do some research. I've never watched it, and I suspect a lot of my audience will. My base audience won't have either, because I've got like a lot of people, it depends on who I interview, but the base audience is male and from about 35 to 65. A lot actually, yeah, proportionally male, but I do have a very high proportion of female viewers too. And I don't know the exact stat, I think it's 48%, which isn't too bad. But look, I'm not really familiar with the show. So could you explain really quickly for many people in my audience, the basic premise and how it all works and how did you get involved?
Yeah, so I was 100% with you and the majority of your demographic there, man. I don't watch TV. I haven't watched TV for probably 6-7 years. So same thing, I understood the premise of it. Like, the whole concept is somebody meets another person for the first time at the altar. They get married. It's not a legally binding marriage, but it is a full ceremony and stuff. They get married and they do a heap of fun, adventurous stuff, and they try to figure out whether they like each other and whether they can form a relationship on the outside, and it's called an experiment. And that's basically, I knew what it was about, and I got a phone call asking, "Hey man, are you single? Would you like to go on this show?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool, okay." They sold it to me really well. It's been a really cool, fun experience, and it wasn't. It was the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. And mate, it's up there with my breakup, like 100%. That 6 weeks was torturous, and basically, yeah. Look, I was in there for 2 or 3 days, and I realized that I'd made a pretty big mistake, and the whole show just goes against everything that I'm about, all of my values, all of my morals, everything I do with Kick On. And yeah, I just call it naivety, mate. Like I hadn't seen the show. I should have watched it. If I had watched a few episodes, I reckon I probably would have picked up that it was just about drama. And, you know, I'm the most anti-drama person that you could ever meet. And I really struggled the whole way through just because that's all they're trying to get out of you. You know, you're put with a person that is the polar opposite of what you could ever want. Or, you know, just, and that's not like there's no good or bad. We're just very, very different.
Yeah.
You know, I've got nothing bad to say about anybody, but
no,
definitely.
I get that. So it's not like, because watching that, I would think it was like, because there was I'm showing my age here, there was a show in the 80s called Perfect Match. And apparently what they really used to do is, as best as the technology that they had back then, was they used to sit down and they really did try and match people up. And there were a number of, you know, oh, we got a wedding out of it. And that would be a big deal. It would be all over TV Week and all that sort of stuff. But apparently they were kind of half serious about it. Like, obviously it was about the show. You know, it's always going to be about, in the end, it's going to be about TV ratings, advertising revenue. It's going to be those sorts of things. But there seemed to be a degree of legitimacy around it. Whereas with this, is it directly the opposite? So they were kind of like, oh, we're going to get these two personality types who actually don't kind of suit each other, and we're going to do it for the drama and we're going to do it for the conflict. Is that what happened?
100%. Yeah. No, and it couldn't be any more obvious. And I'm like, oh. The whole time I'm just going, why am I in here? Like, I think it's probably the question that I asked the most times to the producers was, why did you pick me for the show? Because, you know, like I wasn't going along with everything and I wouldn't buy into the drama. And, you know, they want you to talk about other people and start fights and, you know, even talking about my wife, where they want you to say bad things about them. And then they just go straight, they just tell them straight to their face. And they just said, oh, he just said this. It's ridiculous. It's like you're being gaslighted the whole time. You're not allowed to, you know, your sleep pattern's all messed up. You're not eating good food. You're not treated very good at all, man. Like it's really, really bad, the treatment of the people in there. And I'm not having a sook, you know, like I grew up on a farm, like I'm used to roughing it. But it was just the way you're spoken to and pushed around. And it's just, everything is designed to get you to your wit's end. So you crack on camera. And then they're trying to set you up to fight against people and fight against your partner. And the mentality of it is really either you're like in direct competition with your partner, even though they say you're in there to work. But if you're getting along, they literally walked in and said, like, you guys are fucking boring. You're not even going to be shown on air because you guys are just getting along. Like, you know, we need drama. We need something to happen. And it's like, you know, I got told heaps of times, like, because I laugh about everything. So if something's going on, I'll just laugh and go, like, I don't care about anything. You know, nothing really upsets me or affects me. Like, it's probably two people that have seen me angry in my whole life, and both of them are my brothers. And you can imagine what it took to get me there. But yeah, like I'd laugh things off, and they'd come back and say, like, you know, Australia's going to hate you. You look so smug right now. Like, what? How could you laugh at that? I'm like, why the fuck am I on this show? Like, everything I do, like you're saying that I'm not being authentic, and then everything that I do that's me, you smash me down. It's just high level gaslighting. And like, you know, I study psychology on a personal level, you know, like, because I'm interested in it. I could see so many of these things that they're doing. I'm like, this is so messed up.
These people were purposely doing that. That is the height of manipulation. And doing it for their TV ratings and everything else. Literally messing with people's minds so that they can have a 30-minute TV show. Those people suck. I wonder how those producers sleep.
Yeah, no, it was messed up, and I could see what they're doing. And even though like I wasn't getting along with my wife, I'd still try and help her out, because I'm like, look, that's a trick. You know, that's a little trap. They're trying to get you. They're trying to bait you into stuff, and then, you know, the producer would be smashing me because you know, you're on camera the whole time, so I'd literally pull it up mid conversation and be like, boy, just be careful. Like that's a trap, you know. And then the producer would smash me, and then my wife was, she would think that I'm trying to trick her as well, when I'm just trying to help her out. And I'm like, oh man, I was just getting double teamed the whole time. And you can't leave. I tried to leave a few times. They won't let you leave. So, I had to stay there for 6 weeks, and it was tough.
6 weeks. So that's obviously a contract thing. You break that contract, they're going to bankrupt you. Like all that FIFO money you earn, that's theirs. They're taking.
Oh. Yeah. And I was lucky. I was an intruder, so I was only there for half the time. The other guys that were there from the start, that like 12 weeks if they lasted the whole way. But just to put things in perspective, I think this just sums up the whole show. So at the end, right, you've been together for 6 weeks, and they have like what's it called, final vows, where you come back together. You have 3 or 4 days apart in your hometowns. You go and talk to friends. This is all deliberation. It's all done on camera as well, obviously. And basically, you're supposed to go home. And you're supposed to talk to your friends and go, "Oh, I don't know, man." And you're supposed to, you're supposed to build suspense. So you got to say good things and then say bad things, and go basically the whole time just not give anything away and just say, "I don't know." So I did that. And then as soon as I got home, they're like, "Oh, so what are you going to say?" And I was like, "No fucking way. Like, I've tried to leave 3 times. You won't let me leave. You can see that we're the worst match in the world. There's no way I'm saying yes." And they spent 3 days with a team of 3 people in my ear, telling me to say yes, right? They like pulled out every stop. They're like, "You've got to say yes. You're going to break her heart on TV." And then they'd say, "She's, if you upset her, you know what kind of person she's like, she's going to come at you." And then they'd say, "Australia's going to hate you because, you've led this girl on." And like just anything, any stop they could do, right? So 3 days later, I'm like, "Look," and they basically just said, "Look, say yes. And then once everything's done, nobody cares. And then you guys can go your own separate way. But just say yes for the camera. Like just do it, and no one's gonna hate you." Like, so I went along with it. I said yes. And then, we meet up after the whole ceremony. She said yes. Like everyone knew she was gonna say yes. And then we had a chat right after, and she said, "Man, that was the worst. Like they spent 3 or 4 days just telling me how shit you were and all these mean things, and trying to get her to say no."
No, so, why?
Yeah, man. Like that sums up what that show was like. Like so 100%. Like because no one would have expected it, because Casey was kind of into me a little bit, so she was always going to say yes. And it's like, I was just like, "You fucking pieces of shit." Like it's so messed up, man. Like and that's the whole show was just like that all over in so many different ways. Like
oh man, that is so cynical.
Oh man,
I just don't believe how cynical it is, and how exploitative. And of course, the real irony is you think about how those people on mainstream TV presume to lecture other people about morality and politics, and you can't believe this, and you got to, and these bunch of cynical, manipulative. Oh my God. Like if I had contempt of mainstream media before, I've got like contempt squared going on right now. Seriously.
Yeah, it's not good, man. And like I've run a mental health charity. Like I went in there with a really strong mental, mindset, and I'm like, there's no way anyone could make me say or do anything that I didn't want to do.
Yeah, but it turns out,
mate, they are bloody good at what they do, and I ended up in the worst mental space that I'd been in since my wedding was called off, and like questioning who I was. Are these things true? Like you're cut off from society. You've got, got no points of reference. You've just got people telling you these things, all day, every day. And it's like, it was hard. And, a lot of the people that go on there, they're not in a good mental space. That's why they're picked for it. They've got insecurities and mental health issues. Like, and this isn't being nasty, but
no. Yeah. I get it.
There's narcissists and, all these kind of people that they choose for this show for that exact reason. There's no accidents. So thoroughly thought out, and it's sick, man, because I think it'll get to a stage where somebody ends up hurting themselves because of the show. And I'm really worried about it, because Like, yeah, I had all the tools in the world and went in there just on top of the world. And even I was just like, I walked out of there just broken, man. Like, yeah, it was hard.
Wow. And look, you're probably right. You're probably right. I could see something like that happening. I really can. Like, I've 30 years in the Queensland Police Service. I've seen people crack. I've seen tough cops just like, just literally go to water, sitting there in a meal room and just, collapse and start crying. And dude, so if you're getting people that are kind of like being picked purely because they've recognized vulnerability. So these people have picked vulnerable. That's criminal, man. Let me tell you. And like, there's going to be some coppers watch this later on because I do get a lot of, and thank you very much. I get a lot of support from my ex-colleagues. And coppers talk about this all the time. One thing criminals are really good at, is picking vulnerability. You know what I mean? It's a thing. That's how you can tell a really good crook. They'll sit there and they'll listen. Like, really good crooks don't talk. They listen. They listen a lot. And you can see them picking up and they're working. And it's like, and when the police turn up too, they'll do it. They'll do it to that. An experienced cop who kind of like sitting there, they'll go, who starts talking to them and, like, how's this going to go, sir? Like, are we going to end up hurting each other? Like, me, they kind of, because they're so used to manipulating they're so used to manipulate. They do it to the police. And obviously the reason they do it to cops is sometimes it works. Like, it works. You know what I mean? So you get these people that can just hone in on vulnerability and then exploit it for money. Oh, dude, seriously.
And just as a cherry on top, like, obviously that process of being in the show is messed up. But not only do they do that, they also then go away and edit everything to make it look worse. And they know exactly how it's going to affect these people's lives. I was lucky. I came out with a good image. Like, people come up and ask for photos and shake my hand, and they're nice. Like, even after all that, I still came out with a positive aftertaste, because nobody remembers exactly what happens because it was, over a year ago, but people remember the feeling that they got when they seen you. So I was lucky I got a good feeling, but a lot of people don't. Like, people come out of these shows and they get punched in the face in public, they lose jobs, it can fucking ruin your life. And they know this. And they pick these people because they're like that. They go, this guy is gonna, or this girl is gonna do whatever we want, or she'll bite at this, and she'll have a go at this chick, and she's gonna look like an arsehole on camera, and people are gonna go away and hate her and talk about her, and then her life will be messed up, for quite some time after it. And they do all that knowing it, but it's one of those things where they're just like, well, you signed up for it, and that's what the show's about. It's all about drama. It's not about putting couples together. I think they've had one couple stay together in 8 seasons. So you do the math, you see if they're putting people together for genuine reasons or not.
So have people been assaulted and stuff like that, or had, you've spoken about, like, do you know of any specific negative that's happened because of the show? Like, people have had people abuse them, like walk up to them in the street. Sure.
People have been abused. Yeah, people have been punched in the face.
Assaulted.
Literally lost jobs and not being able to get work. People walk out of that. It's the highest rating show in Australian television history. Like, more people watch that than any other show. And I think a majority of people. It's funny you say before, you're like, oh, a majority of my listeners would never have seen it. But you'd be surprised, man. A lot of the people that come up and ask for a photo for their wife or whatever, it's like their guilty pleasure, man. And it's people from that demographic. And I'm always like, yeah, man, it's cool, whatever.
Okay. So if you're out there, if you're a Northern Viber and you've denied knowing it to me, and I've had a couple of people go, you're going to have to explain, because, like, I do bounce it off some people. You're going to have to explain what this TV show is. You can come out of the closet, okay? We totally respect your little guilty pleasure. If you're watching that show out there, that's totally cool. No judgment here. It's Northern Vibe. And Drew doesn't either, do you, bro?
No judgment. But now that you know what it's about, you can watch something that's, I think the funny thing is a lot of people watch it and they walked away pissed off, and they go to the work the next day and they're like, it's their outlet. So they're like, did you see that bitch do this? Or did you see that, I can't believe that guy did that or whatever. But it's not a positive thing. Like, we've never been able to have more access to any content at our fingertips. Like we can watch whatever we want every night. If you want to watch TV, you can watch a David Attenborough thing. You can watch your favorite movie from 40 years ago. You can whatever. Jordan Peterson podcast, but people still watch that stuff. It's like, dude, if it doesn't have a good effect on you, like, be aware of the content you consume as well, because that can have just as much effect on you as what you're eating. And so
it's a diet. It's a diet.
Yeah,
it is
just
a
be
diet.
aware.
Yeah,
just be conscious of how you feel after you watch things, and choose knowingly.
Yeah. And look, we're actually getting a bit of a love on that. Miss Hart has said that she's never seen it. I really love, for anyone watching out there now, just put on whether or not you've seen it. Again, no judgment, just interested. That's okay. So I've got Miss Hart who's indicated that she hasn't. And
you're a legend, Miss Hart.
Sorry?
You're a legend, Miss Hart. And it's funny because I get people come up to me and like obviously I do a lot of different things, but people will probably recognize me from maths. And some people will come up, and if maybe their friend recognized me, ask for a photo, and they haven't seen it or whatever. But they'll be like, "Oh, I don't watch that shit." Like, and I'm like, awesome. Like, either do I. Like, I didn't even watch all the episodes that I was on. Like, that's great. I'll probably get along with you better than that person. Like, I'm not offended if you haven't seen it. I love it. Like, good. I'll never watch it again.
It's, yeah, okay, Rebecca. Your secret is safe with us. I got a mate, Beck. Actually, she's a previous guest, so I'm really happy to have her back. And I'm kind of thinking of getting her on again at some time in the future. Very talented lady, actually. If anyone is out there, Rebecca Scott. She's one of the interviews I had a while ago. If you get on the Northern Vibe page, just scroll down, you'll see the one. She's the extreme sports people there. And incidentally, and again, she's someone else that's got a bit of an amazing skill stack. So she's a parachutist, base jumper, steampunk. She does like event organizer, like just these incredible people that I've met. It's so ridiculously cool. Miss Rumpf, Barbara has indicated that she doesn't watch it. Yep. Okay. Good on you.
Work, Barb. Stay strong, Barb.
But you're totally right. Like it kind of if you think about the emotions that are in you when you're watching that kind of stuff, and we really do have the capacity to watch others. Me, I'm ridiculously geeky. Like it was at my kind of new job, they used to have these meetings where once a week they were called, they just get together and say, what did you do on the weekend kind of stuff. And it was supposed to, kind of help people just find out about each other and stuff. And I tell the truth, it's like, yeah, I watched an hour-long lecture about the Greek sophists. Really dig that. And of course, everyone's like,
who's this guy?
Dude, like, I don't understand that we got this media. You can get a university education. Like, I'm not kind of all that smart, but you can just get so well informed, and you've done it too through your research. Like it's not, you can read up all of these things and become phenomenally well informed about issues that you're genuinely concerned about, be it mental health or the ancient Greeks or whatever it is, or married at first sight, or it does little passion. Little passion. I used to read these books when I was a kid called Biggles books. Loved them. It was about this World War I aviator. And mate, there are sites out there, these entire websites, all they do is discuss these books written by a World War I aviator about World War I aviation. And like, it's kind of funny, but it's like ridiculously cool. And one of the other interviews that I was going to do, and unfortunately it fell through, there was a group in Cairns called the Fungi Foragers. Stay with me, Drew. Stay with me.
I'm with you.
The Fungi Foragers, dude. What they do is, anytime it rains, after it rains, these people, they kind of like ring each other up and they're like, dude, it rained. And it's like, so they go out to these areas and they go and look at fungi. So, and it's like they're taking the photographs and they got little blogs and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, that is like ridiculously cool. That is just like so geekily cool. But
Are they eating them as well?
oh, hey,
Are they eating
well,
them as well?
that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
There's a group that I kind of going to half merge with that were like looking for the edible fungi, and Australia has really low levels of edible fungi. Almost all of our stuff is poisonous, but there are other people out there looking for fungi that has other effects on people. And I'm sure I don't need to go into the precise kind of, the hallucinogens that are really common out there in fungi if you kind of know what you look at. So there was these kind of like groups that were kind of going to half merge and kind of not, and then I was like, it was so cool. Like Married at First Sight, nothing compared to the potential dramas at the.
Oh, imagine what they're watching. That's great. And funny you should say that, because there's a lot of studies coming out right now with the positive effects of psilocybin and stuff like this for mental health and depression and PTSD sufferers. So yeah, it's exciting times for that. So maybe not walking into the forest and doing it with the Facebook group, but under different circumstances and a controlled environment, might be something in it.
Hey, my mate Coco, who I grew up with, actually, he's been doing some great work with the military recently too. Thanks very much for your service, Coco. He's a Biggles fan as well. So, yeah, no, he's in the job, but he's also he works a lot with the Torres Straits and 51st. So yeah, fantastic.
Well done, legend.
Well, oh my God, we've been going for an hour. I'm going to. There's a couple of really quick things that I do want to ask before we wrap it up. So tell me about Drew's reviews.
Drew's reviews. Yeah, that's a quick one. It's funny, I started doing coffee reviews with a mate years and years ago. Like I said, I'd quit my job, I'd started volunteering, I'd started playing music, so I had a bit of time on my hands. And we started going out for coffees, and we're like, man, we should hit every coffee cafe in Cairns. We want to see where the best coffee is. And then we're like, well, I bet other people would probably want to know that as well. So we started doing Ian and Drew do coffee reviews. And basically it had nothing to do with coffee. It was literally just a creative writing experience for me. And I'd write them all, and it's just 100% comedy. And then at the end, we just tell you whether the coffee was good or not. But basically it was the same kind of concept for that. They're all on Facebook if anyone wants to watch them. But then, basically it came from that. So after I came off maths, I was getting a lot of offers to do influencer work, and I hate that word. Yeah, there it is. Oh, blast from the past. Anyway, I'm just not about that, I guess. And I was getting contact, but teeth whitening and all this kind of bullshit that I wasn't into. And basically, I found an outlet with Drew's reviews where I could do the same thing as the coffee. I could have fun with something. Someone could send a product, and I could pull the piss out of myself and show people how to use the product. And I think I did 3 or 4 of those, and I haven't really done any more. But yeah, it was the same thing. It was a bit of fun, and it's all about being creative and making fun of myself, which is something that I enjoy doing.
All right, mate, that is fantastic. And again, this really is, as I said at the beginning, it's all about linking aspiration with this real simple thing is, if you're genuinely serious about achieving something, you'll get there. Like, you mightn't be, when you and I say that, like, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a world famous kind of person, but but will you get good at something? Will you enjoy doing it? And will you make both you and the world a better place? Yeah, you will. And it's doing this really simple. Again, that's Jordan Peterson stuff. That's, sort yourself out and find something you like and get good at it. Like that's
yeah. I've thought a lot about this, and like I've had such a big shift. So I went from being like, I wanted to own, I want to retire by the time I was 35 and be a stay-at-home dad with my kids, and have 30 houses, and I was well on my way, and that was really achievable. I was like, I was going to make that happen easy. And then I guess the breakup just really shifted things for me, and now I bounce between, like, I think it's so good to have huge crazy dreams and aspirations and goals and like whatever, like exactly what you said. Anything that you can think up, you can make it happen. Like you literally can. You can literally. I was thinking about doing like a challenge or something, getting somebody to say something totally wild and just pick whatever and then just make it happen, just to prove to people that you can, because you literally can. But then also balancing between that and just, man, you gotta be happy. Like, and happiness doesn't come from reaching a goal or success, which is self-defined anyway. But it doesn't come from that. It comes from inside, and as cliche as that sounds, like you've got to figure out how to be happy without that shit. Because when you get it, you'll have a little spike in happiness. It's like when people win the lotto or whatever you get this little spike in endorphins, and then your body adapts so quickly that you just plateau back to wherever your baseline of happiness is. So, and a lot of people come unstuck when they do this, when they sacrifice their whole life to get, whether it's a career goal or whatever, like they sacrifice so much, and then they get the thing that they've been working so hard for and missing out on everything for, and they go, yay, and then boom, straight back to where they were, and they go, fuck, what have I just done for the last 20 years? Like, you've got to figure out how to get that happiness along the way. And it's been a beautiful thing to learn. Like, still have dreams and goals and whatever you want to do, but you've got to be happy along the way, because you might get hit by a bus tomorrow, or you might, shit happens, man. Like you might not make it, but you might fail, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
See, that's it. It doesn't matter if you fail. I think the link is because we always, and understandably, and I'm not saying it's wrong, we always link success with prestige. I think the important thing is breaking the link between prestige and success. So you can be really successful at something and really kind of good at it, and it brings you a sense of fulfillment. Because I think the only kind of distinction, and maybe this is semantics, but I think it's important to be happy, but I think happiness is a byproduct of fulfillment. And that might seem right, but I kind of, aiming for happiness as a goal, I kind of don't even know what that means. I mean, like, are you happy when you're drunk, when you take drugs, like, when you're... So for me, it's about kind of fulfillment. If we break the link between, as I was saying before, if we get out of the prestige economy, because there's all these economies, like, we have economies of money, and we have economies of prestige. And a prestige economy really is a psychological economy. You know what I mean? So if you kind of if we break that and just let people find, and, and encourage people to find something that they find fulfilling and do it. So like steampunk, to pick an example entirely at random, Rebecca, and getting kind of really, really good at that. Kudos to you. Or jumping out of aircraft, perfectly good aircraft. Whatever it is that brings you that sense of satisfaction, as long as we make that divorce between that and the prestige economy, I think that's important.
Yeah, and look, I'm happiest when I'm challenging myself, when I'm learning something, and when I feel like I'm giving back. Basically, that's what I figured out. And like, I love doing everything that I do, but that's basically it. If I find myself, even if if I'm where I want to be with music or whatever it is, or I'll get bored if I'm just doing the same shit. Like, I need to be challenged, and I need to be working. I need to be productive. So, yeah, I'm never going to retire, basically.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask one more question, and we're going to wrap it up. Who is Cornelius? I got to say, I love that name because it's my grandfather's middle name, and also, of course, the name of the centurion in the New Testament. But you got to tell us who Cornelius is, excluding those two things.
So basically, a part of the maths experience, saga, was basically they told me one day, they're like, all right, well, we've booked your flights and we're going to Cairns tomorrow. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, we're going to do homestay in Cairns. We're going into your house. And I was like, my fucking house is trashed. Like, I only had 6 days to prepare for a wedding and get medicals, right, vows, STD checks, like just everything in 6 days. Like, pack up my whole life, cancel gigs, weddings, like just, it it was the most stressful 6 days of my life. My house is a mess, you know. Anyway, so they're like, yeah, too bad. That's what we're doing. So they gave me 10 minutes. We pulled up my house, gave me 10 minutes to run in and try and tidy some stuff up. But it was a mess, man. But that's what they wanted. They wanted, I was like the poor kind of, you know, struggling musician kind of thing. And she was from the upper class, you know. But they wanted to emphasize that. Anyway, they walked into my house and I just chucked a heap of shit in the corner. And there was some stuffed toys there. One of the biggest one was Cornelius. So he's a unicorn, which is about this big. Basically, I bought him. We played at Groove in the Moon, so we got asked to go down and play at this festival. And I bought that. I'm like, I want some stuff to throw into the crowd, you know, some cool stuff. And I found this big unicorn at a cheap shop. Basically, we took it down for that, and then it just ended up in the bus. Like we fell in love with Cornelius, and we just kept him as a band mascot. And he ended up in my house. And there was a heap of other stuff. Like 2 weeks before, we'd had a party where one of the things for the party was you had to bring a stuffed toy with you. And everyone's just left their stuffed toys at my house, and they ended up in this corner. And they found them on the show, and they went through them, and they just, yeah, I became known, you know, the stuffed toy dude. So there he is there. And they talked my wife into binning a lot of my stuff, and Cornelius was one of them. And I wouldn't let him go. I stuck to my guns on that one, and I said, no, Cornelius is staying. But my nephew's got him now. He loves him. And yeah, that's basically the short version of it. But yeah, I became known for these stuffed toy things where she thought it was the weirdest thing in the world, and I'm like, it's just a fucking stuffed toy.
That's it.
They don't let you explain anything, and it's like you only get. That's the thing about that show. They show 2% of what they film, and it's all twisted anyway and edited. So it's like
distorted and removed from context. Yeah.
But I get people messaging me and come up and say, "Oh, I love stuffed toys," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." That's cool. Embrace your weirdness, man. Do you?
I mean, one is tempted to make the observation that the entire mainstream media, when it comes to news and everything too, is kind of like Married at First Sight. It's all about removing stuff from context, distorting and giving cherry picking kind of stuff to form a narrative rather than letting the story tell itself. And that's why people loathe the mainstream media. But see, there's actually not much all that money in it anymore. Like, they're failing. All mainstream media, if you look at the returns, dude, they're losing money. And there's no way Northern Vibe, there's no way a weird geek in a bad shirt could like just interview random kind of people. Okay, pretty interesting people, admittedly. But like, there's no way I could have got the reach that I could have and done this, even with the technology. And, you know, the technology has actually been around for a kind of little while without the death of the mainstream media and without the fact that they lie. They take things out of context and they distort things because it's all about the presentation of a narrative rather than letting a story tell itself or let people explain who they are. And it turns out that, because I don't know exactly how many people are watching right now, but there's quite a few, and they've been watching this show for an hour, like two guys talking about random stuff. It goes to show there's a market out there for this. People are interested in you and the story behind it. It's like, well, you know, I was struggling with my mental health. You know, things weren't so good, but I became a musician and I did this and I climbed this ladder, and people love it. People love it because I think
it's another one of those things too. Like, be careful. Just be aware of how it makes you feel, because news is 99%, you know, death, tragedy, you know, all this negative stuff, and you don't really need to know most of it. You don't. If the world's going to end, someone will tell you. And if it, you know, it's a prescription to depression. If you're watching the news in the morning for an hour and then at night for an hour, like, you try and watch that without feeling shit, you know. And it's not how you want to be, and you're easily controlled when you're in that state of fear and panic, and it's just
And really, that is. That I'm sure, seriously, and I don't care. People say, "Well, put your tinfoil hat on, Maloney." It is about fear, which brings out control. I'm. Anyway.
There's so many good news stories. There's so many, and like, I've taken so many to the news and stuff like, you know, great community stories, and I know other people have as well. Most of it just falls on deaf ears, but then you'll see, you just see all the negative stuff, and it's like, you don't need to watch the news.
Exactly. And hey, one of the viewers is a lady that I'm going to get on in the very near future, so I'm going to talk about that. She's a Polish lady who has indicated that surviving wars was the favourite pastime of the Poles, of her grandparents especially, but the same as ours too over here in Australia. So we're kind of amazingly lucky, and we take that for granted. Spot on. And yes, Barbara, people really are. We are interesting. I know that us staring at ourselves is kind of a little bit, but it is. But look, we're going to have to rant. I've gone over time because I've enjoyed this so much. Thank you very much to all the listeners for indulging me so far. If you haven't already, please follow Northern Vibe, like and share the heck out of this interview. Next few interviews I've got coming up. Next week is pretty geeky, but it's going to be cool. I've got Professor Peter Harrison. He's at UQ and heads the humanities department. We're going to discuss religion and science. So the big apparently fighting each other concepts, but he's got a bit of a different take on things. So that's going to be pretty cool. And I do have a pole dancing people coming up the week after that. So that is going to be really, really cool and really, really interesting. So thanks very much, Drew.
Awesome, man. Yeah, pleasure to be on. Hope someone got something out of it. Yeah.
Mate, I'll get you to stay on because I just want to have a quick chat with you. But to everybody else, thank you very much for tuning into Northern Vibe. Really, really appreciate your support you're getting. It's not going unnoticed or appreciated. Thank you. God bless you all. See you next week.